Let's talk some sports, baby.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Jay Wise and Nathan Drinkard. I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thank you for spending some of your time with us tonight. As a reminder to all our listeners, besides being on all your favorite podcast platforms, A Drink of Wisdom is also on YouTube with each segment available. Head on over, and if you like what you hear, we would appreciate your subscription. What's going on, fellas? Happy Friday. Got all kinds of football to talk about, man. So exciting.
Football, conference finals in the NBA. It's a wonderful time of year. It almost makes me think the shutdowns were worth it because now we have all this excellent action, just everything's going on. I don't even have time to talk baseball or anything like that, but let's go ahead and get into it.
Let's talk some sports, baby. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Let's roll into it. You know, it's Friday. You know, we got things to speak. Pull up a seat. All yours, Cody.
All right. In episode 4, Burrow gets battered. The NFL set sail for week 2, and we're also taking a look at the college football action. But we begin tonight with a look at the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. The Heat sunk Boston once again, taking Game 2 106-101. As usual, Miami trailed for much of the first half, but would ultimately storm back from down 17 to take a late lead. Miami made their big shots on the stretch while Boston failed to match. The win boosts Miami to 10-1 this postseason, now has them 2 wins from the NBA Finals. Meanwhile, Boston was sent reeling into a post-game locker room confrontation. So, Jay, everything going right for Miami, it seems. How are they doing this, and can Boston do anything to get back in the series?
Well, Miami's really not doing anything different than really they've done much of the season and into the playoffs, and they're just incredibly hot right now. I mean, we've seen it. You know, you sweep the Indiana Pacers, you go up 3-0 on the Milwaukee Bucks before you knock them out in 5. And you're up 2-0 on the Boston Celtics now. That's, what is that, 10 out of 11 you've won the playoffs. Just remarkable stuff of what they're doing. And, you know, it's some of it has to do with the three-point shooting. You know, they were plus 12 in this game. I believe they held they were only plus 3 in the first game, which, I mean, if you're Boston, I mean, Boston made 15 threes in game 1. Miami made 16 in game 1. Miami actually shot a lower percentage in this game from three, slightly lower, but they made 4 more threes, so that's plus 12. And but this was a case as you watch this game develop. I mean, and I believe game 1 was like this as well. I mean, Boston was in control for, you know, a good portion of this game. You know, into the third quarter. Well, at the half, they led by 13. They were up by 15, you know, a few minutes into the third. And then slowly but surely, Miami started chipping away. And eventually, before you know it, you go from a 13-point lead at the half to a 7-point deficit. And the whole game turned around. Now give Boston credit. You know, they kept persevering. They kept battling. We actually went up by 5, you know, about 4.5 left in the fourth on a Kemba Walker 3. But then from there, they just kind of sort of fell apart and they got disjointed. You know, turnovers were a big problem last night. I believe they had 20 of them. 19 assists, 20 turnovers. That's really not what you're looking for. Meanwhile, you look at Miami, 27 assists, 9 turnovers, a 3-to-1 turnover ratio for the entire team. I mean, that's just spectacular. And it kind of speaks to their ball movement, the unselfishness they play with. And I was talking to Drink about this earlier. It's an absolutely amazing thing when you look at Miami and you look at their best player, who is Jimmy Butler. But it's such a luxury in my estimation. Jimmy Butler does not have to lead this team in scoring. He can have relatively, you know, mediocre to pedestrian type nights shooting the basketball. I mean, you look at him in this game, 14 points on 4 for 11. That's nothing to write home about. But you know the effect that he has on this team as far as the intangibles, the leadership that we've lauded him for all season. We talked about how Philadelphia has missed that. We talked about how, you know, things weren't going well in Minnesota because, you know, those young dudes, it just didn't mesh with Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins. But now he comes to Miami, and he is empowered to such a degree with these young guys who are willing to follow him and play hard, and they know what it's like, and they know what it takes to be great. And I've said this quite a few times. These rookies do not play like rookies. When you look at Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn. I mean, think about Kendrick Nunn and how great he was. He was third in rookie, second or third in rookie of the year voting. And he can barely get minutes right now. What you're seeing from Miami is they're kind of shrinking down their rotation a little bit to where they're going with their starting five. They're giving Tyler Hero a lot of minutes. Those are really the 6 guys getting major minutes when you look at Robinson, Hero, and then Butler, Adebayo, Crowder, and Dragic. But Spoelstra's cut down on the rotation. But we know how their depth is outstanding. You still have Olynyk, Iguodala, and Kendrick Nunn, and just a smidgen of Derek Jones in there. But you think about Miami. Miami to me is the team with the superior depth right now, particularly with Gordon Hayward still out, and I do think he's on the way back. But that appears to be a big deal right now. And I also told Drink this earlier, and I thought I had this right, and it did turn out to be correct. The loss of Gordon Hayward did not affect them, even though the series went 7. I believe they would be able to overcome that loss because Toronto, in my estimation, just didn't have the firepower. So you didn't need Gordon Hayward's extra, 15 to 20 points a game. You could get by with just, Kemba, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown doing the thing. Not quite so in this series, because if you look beyond those 3 guys without Hayward, and, that's no disrespect to Marcus Smart, but really beyond Marcus Smart, because we don't look at Tice as a guy who's going to put up major numbers consistently. So beyond, those 3 big guns and Marcus Smart, you're kind of looking around and looking, where the points going to come if one of those guys, is on the struggle bus, and it's hard to look at that, the Boston Celtics bench and see where the points are coming from. So the Gordon Hayward being out these first 2 games, I think that has had an effect on this series. But overall, I mean, to me, Miami's just the team right now. Obviously they're more hot. They appear to be more together based on, the foolishness going on in the Boston Celtics locker room. And it looks like Miami is more sure of themselves. They know who their closer is. They know who their leader is. They seem to be the team right now that is more sure of themselves from an identity perspective. Boston, not so. When you look at how the sloppy way they finished the game last night, it's just something that we don't quite expect from a Brad Stevens team. But remember, you think about if you look to a guy that would lead this team, it would probably be Kemba Walker. But Kemba Walker's been struggling, for lately in these playoffs. He was okay last night, but I mean, we talked about Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Those are the guys that got to carry you. But they do need help. And right now, particularly without Gordon Hayward, that loss to me is coming back to bite them just a little bit. And 2-0 is not where you want to be right now. The series is not over, but of course, you can't lose game 3.
Yeah, look, to keep it short and sweet and to the point, look, here's the deal. We already said this series is about the trenches, right? And the bottom line is this: Miami is more grittier. They want it more. If you actually look at the end of most of these games, these are not blowouts. These are not games where one team is superior than the other one. We already discussed that. The problem is Boston, when it comes down to it, they let Miami out-grit them. So to answer your question, what can they do? They could just they can bring out a little more dog in the final 3 minutes of the game. That's what they can do, and not let Miami outwork them. They was down by 17 points. So you could play ball. We see you can do some things to Miami, but can you hold on to that? Can you show that dog when it matters most at the end of the game? And to Jay's point, listen, Miami – hey, Spoelstra, let me get 4 guys and Jimmy Butler. You know why he don't care? Because all 5 of those guys, when they get on the court, they know they roll. We ain't going to argue about this. We ain't going to debate about this. Hey, Jimmy, go let them know what needs to happen, and we're going to make this happen. It don't matter. This is probably the only team that's left in the playoffs that can roll out Jimmy Butler, 3 rookies, and Bam Adebayo. And, hey, we got it. Sign us up. Let's go win this game. They know their roles. And just like Jay said, Boston a little confused right now. Who's the leader? Is it Kemba? Is it Jason Tatum? Is it Marcus Smart? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing here? That's why they're getting into arguments with each other. Because when the Lakers go lose a game, you don't hear, hey, Anthony Davis got in an argument with LeBron James. No. Because Anthony Davis, no. LeBron he's the leader. I'm the talent. And all the other guys play their role. We're going to keep this thing going, baby. So it's just one of them things. They need to find their identity. And to Jay's point, this is the first series where that mattered. It mattered who will be doing what. Because now you're playing a team that knows who is doing what. Now, when it comes to the last 2 minutes of the game, you're struggling to figure out, just give Tatum the ball, let him get it. Who should have it? Should it be Kemba? I mean, Kemba got the larger pedigree of the three. Why is he not taking the last shot? Oh, well, Jason Tatum, he's a ascending star. Let him take the last shot. So it's just one of them things where, like, they have to figure it out because they're not, they're in these games. They just got to figure out what they're doing. Brad Stevens got to, drop his cojones and say, hey, listen, I'm going to drop this play for Kemba. Kemba, you need to decide how this go. Or I'm going to drop this play for Jason Tatum. You need to decide how this go. Because that's all it is. That at the end of the day, you can tell me whatever about the three-point shooting. You can tell me whatever about the rookies. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to the fact that Miami has their stuff together and Boston don't. That's all it is to it. These games are a lot – they're too close for me to sit here and act like Miami is so much – superior than Boston, or Boston don't deserve to be on the same court as Miami. Like, no, that's not what we're talking about here. We just talking about get it done when you need to get it done. And another thing, listen, you can go fight and do all this other crap you want to do in the locker room. Yeah, that sounds good and have a good old time. But if you go out here and lose again, what did you really do? Create another storyline of why you don't deserve to be here or something? That's all you do. You get a hater something to hate about. It's like, I don't want to hear this, hey, Jason Tatum was really Marcus Smart was really fed up, and, he had to let Jaylen Brown know, and he threw a bottle. Okay, that sounds good. While Jimmy Butler's still over here shooting commercials and going to get you on up out of here. So you keep on with this bull crap. You keep on with this back and forth, and it's ridiculous. But like I said, that to me, the only thing that can get Boston back into this series is when Boston goes back to identifying who needs to do what. Gordon Hayward looked like he might be back here soon. He could dress up for Game 3. I'm not saying he'll be a huge factor, but I would say this: Gordon Hayward play like he know his role. I've never seen he comes off the bench, he give you like Jay said, 15, 20 points, whatever. And he fine with it. He don't need to take the last shot. He don't need to be the star. He just comes in, does what he do, leave, and it is what it is. So maybe that might help him get back into their roles. But as far as I'm concerned, they're going to get swept if they keep on with this clown show that they got going on.
And let me jump back in just quickly on that point about Gordon Hayward. I think it would be smart, and I know, Brad Stevens, Gordon Hayward, they go way back. But I think in this situation right now, I think Marcus Smart has played really well, and I've talked about this. I think Cody and me have talked about this just a little bit. Marcus Smart, to me, would fit better in that starting lineup because what's the value in having really 4 kind of all-star level scorers in the lineup, whereas put in Marcus Smart in the starting lineup, max him out on minutes. He's the dog on this team that you need, and I think you need him right away. And then let Gordon Hayward come off the bench. It kind of, fixes your depth a little bit and makes it a little more equal playing field as far as the depth, and let him lead that second unit. That might actually be what he needs to maybe get him going, get some offense running through him. I think Brad Stevens would be wise to go that way, whereas moving Smart back to the bench and maybe disrupting some of that rhythm that he's had in this playoff run.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. That's a good point. And you look at the box score last night. After your main three guys, your Tatum, Brown, Smart combo. Dice had 6 points. Cantor had 9 points. I think he had a pretty early start. He had some good stuff early, but he's a guy you can't play that long in the playoffs without having some mismatch problems. So, Hayward would probably buoy them a lot. But I think in the bigger picture, it seems like Miami is just in their head right now. I mean, this isn't new. I mean, you remember back to the Milwaukee series. I really feel like after the game, like really game 2, the Bucks were just straight up demoralized. I mean, you could tell game 3, and even before Giannis got hurt, they didn't really move the same. They didn't really have that same urgency. They kind of ran like they had like mud in their shoes. I think they stripped that aura of invincibility off Giannis, and they didn't seem like to play like the same team. And it feels like Boston, you're seeing the same cracks now, right? And it just feels like this Miami team is just such this perfect combination of shooting and defense, coaching, and everything. And I don't think that happened game 1. I think Miami made a few more plays, but game 2, same thing. Got a big double-digit lead. You storm back. You take it. And in the fourth quarter, last 5 minutes, everything goes right for you, and the train comes off the tracks for them. And you take an example. Dragic had a series where he pretty much messed around the whole shot clock. This was in the last 5 minutes of the game. He was messing around. Boston was playing good. I mean, they were playing good defense on him. They were cutting off his passing lanes, and he wound up having to just heave some random contested 3, and then he drilled it. In the next possession on defense, Boston just looked like they couldn't even do anything. I mean, you look at the offensive rebounds. The Heat had 11, and Boston had 6. You add that into your turnover deficit and your assist deficit. I mean, no wonder you lost the game, but just by 5 points, which is amazing in itself. Like you said, Drink, these are 2 pretty evenly matched teams, but you have enough of those statistics against you, it ain't gonna matter how well you're playing if that's all that's stacked against you. So I think that it's just you look at overall, like Miami's at the better coaching right now. They've got the closer right now. They've got the mental advantage right now, and it's really going to take a lot, I think, to get this Boston team back. I think besides the Gordon Hayward point, I think Jaylen Brown needs to be a little more involved in the offense. I don't. Maybe it's just me, but I get the feeling he's not involved enough. I remember like down the stretch of that game, he had the 2 big threes late in the game, right? But like outside of that, was he getting a lot of touches? Like I don't remember him doing a whole lot. I mean, I just feel like I don't know. I just feel like some of these guys aren't as involved as they could be.
That's because you got Kemba Walker dribbling the half of the shot clock, running around in the circle. Then he decided to pass it in under 10 seconds. It's a little hard to run off.
You got to shoot.
And that just goes kind of back to what to Drink's point about guys knowing their roles. I mean, Miami knows their roles. I mean, it's typically in the fourth quarter, it's going to be Jimmy Butler, going to work and making the right reads, whether drawing double teams, and kicking the ball out to and getting the defense scrambling rotations and winding up with a 3-point shot, or it's going to be some version of a Goran Dragic pick and roll, which we know how lethal he is, particularly when he gets to his left. He's been absolutely outstanding in these playoffs. There's no denying it. And I think a guy, and it's really easy to overlook when you talk about Jimmy Butler and all these shooters. Bam Adebayo is a terrific player. Just his all-around game. He is a lethal rim runner. He plays above the rim, and I mean he just does. There's really nothing that he does not do well. The only thing he doesn't have is a perimeter shot, and the way Miami is constructed, he doesn't need one because everybody else has one.
Like, I'm not going to say he got the same talent as Anthony Davis, but I feel like his role is similar to Anthony Davis on the Lakers. Like, yes, Jimmy Butler is the star. LeBron is the lead guy, the star lead guy. But what would that team be without this one guy? And then it makes you think, like, he's the glue guy. He is the finishing touch on this product that makes it what it is.
All right, well, Game 3 is Saturday. Just quick programming note, though. The Game 4 will not be until next Wednesday due to the Western Conference Finals and Monday Night Football. So if these teams, whatever the result is Saturday, they will have to wait till Wednesday to play Game 4.
Okay.